What is up, guys? The Strong Boys 19 here. This is going to be quite something that I didn't think about doing at first, but then after listening back to this legendary big heavy metal titan band's discography, I think it's time to do some sort of a re-review, because I've been flicking through a lot of the albums from the Black Sabbath discography, okay? And I've been thinking about doing another video for them, because they are one of my top 5 favourite bands of all time. That's just how much that these guys have made a great impact on me as well as many others. So I thought I would like to do a re-review on the album 13. So 13, the final album by Black Sabbath, released on the Vertigo label, produced by Rick Rubin. This is the last album for Black Sabbath's discography, and the first at the time in 18 years since 1995's Forbidden, which was the last album to feature others like Tony Martin, Jeff Nichols and Neil Murray and Cozy Powell. When 13 came out, I want to keep my original review of that album because it will give me nostalgia. I was really excited and pleased highly at the time to review 13. I gave it such high praise, but then now it's almost a decade later since the album came out, and let's just say that my opinions have changed, not drastically, as I've been going through their entire discography from the first to the very late peak of their albums. The songwriting to this album, for what Rick Rubin decided for Black Sabbath, also with Brad Wilk, who also played drums, who was with Rage Against the Machine, Rick wanted the band to go back into their very early few stages from the sound of their previous 2 albums, being the self-titled and Paranoid. Now that got a lot of controversy for a lot of people over time. And for me, being a fanatic, I respect that. I liked the idea. Rick Rubin, being one of my favourite producers, has made Black Sabbath return to something that I'd say have worked. And I was really glad that the sound to this album, the instrumentation as well, is all pretty strong on here. The musicianship involving Brad's drumming was absolutely really good. I think the sound of the band came back, and each of the playing from Iommi to Butler, and even the performances from Ozzy, it was very, very cool. The tracks that I think are fantastic on the album, the opener, End of the Beginning, with the very slow similarities of the track of Black Sabbath, which I don't really mind, because I do love hearing some low-keyed, slow pacings of these traditional doom metal sounds that Black Sabbath were famous for. And that's one of the reasons why I love Black Sabbath. They made music that was intense and deep than before, and obviously with the tempo change and speed popping in later on in that track, I really did like it a lot. End of the Beginning is just a dark, visceral, a brilliant opening track to begin the album. Then we go to the single that was out before the album's release, God Is Dead. I think the instrumentation was mysterious sounding on the simplicity of the guitar notes and the great delivery on the drumming, especially with the crunched up bass tone. However, my main issue with the song, it can be pretty repetitive lyrically, especially on the repeats of the chorus. I still think it is a great track, but I don't think it's as perfect as End of the Beginning. Loner, on the other hand, has always been my favourite, on this album. It's super catchy, one of the best later Sabbath tracks ever. It's quite like NIB in a way. It still has a groove, a very catchy, memorable, and recognizable style. I think it's one of the best tracks, if not the best one, on 13. And the energy was there. Brad's drumming was brilliant. Then we go to Zeitgeist, which is very alike to Planet Caravan effects, especially with Osborne's vocals all over the track. Sometimes people think it's very lazy, but I haven't heard anything that is like a continuation to like Planet Caravan for ages. I mean, none of us have heard this kind of sound for a long time. It is a nice, soothing track. Even on the gentle hits on the percussion, the congas, I think it's a great song. But then we go into the second half. Another issue that I have with this album, when I revisited it, the second half, for me, has not aged as strongly. And that got me in a bit of a shock, because there are a lot of the riffs that were engaging and thrilling to hear, especially with the next track, Age of Reason. I think that the drumming was spot on and the riffs were really cool. But I think with the tracks from the second half isn't as near perfect. Age of Reason being another one of my favourites on the record. I think it was a very catchy and a full of hook type of track. Live Forever. I personally think it's one of my least favourites on this album. It is a quick mid-tempo pace of a track. The band goes straight in after the introduction and there's a lot of action going on. But I think the chorus doesn't deliver as well. But I think it was a decent number overall. Same goes with the track of Damaged Soul. Damaged Soul is quite bluesy, and some of the soloing from Iomi, not only on this song, but on the previous tracks, they still are fantastic skills and vibrato. You can't go wrong. Iomi is one of the masters in metal history and in guitar playing in general, to be frank. But again, like Live Forever, Damaged Soul has moments of some good material, but it doesn't grow as perfectly. The last track, Dear Father, is, I think, a very good, solid way to close off the album. I think it's very moody in some spots. And while it's not as strong of a closer like some from previous albums, like Under the Sun, or Into the Void, Fairies Wear Boots, Lonely is the Word, and even something from the Tony Martin era. But I feel that this track, Dear Father's instrumentation, was very good. I haven't got the deluxe edition with the bonus tracks, and I haven't got the short EP of The End in the collection yet, but I'm going to buy that to complete the discography of Sabbath. I feel the production got a lot of hate. Now, Rick Rubin, as I said earlier, being one of my favourite producers, I can see that it feels compressed. The guitars are really instant, full on blazing through the speakers. Same with the drums. The drums were mixed a little bit too high. And same with the bass. The bass is still a great sound and it's fat, but it isn't as complete as other Sabbath albums in production. Now I know this album obviously was made in modernized technology, but it's not the worst sound that Rick Rubin had done. To me, the worst overproduction that he has done was for Death Magnetic from Metallica. I can't stand that production. Really bad. But for 13, I can accept for what it is, but I think one of the best produced Sabbath albums have always been Sabotage and even Heaven and Hell. A lot of the lyrics are interesting. I can accept these lyrics, but it feels repetitive. There isn't enough of the variety. There isn't enough of the uniqueness like on the previous Aussie-era Sabbath albums, or even some of the content lyrically from Dio. So I think 13 is still a great album. I still stand by my opinion as one of the best Sabbath albums, and as one of the best albums of the last decade. With all of these words being said, I still really like 13. I can understand that people are dismissive on the album, saying that it's a rehash and a recycle of riffs and songs. But for me, for my re-review of this album, I still really enjoy it. I don't think it is like a near perfect album. I'm going to give 13 by Black Sabbath a 9 out of 10. I'm curious to know what you think of this album. Does it age very well as it did when it came out? Do you think it is the best Sabbath album in a long time? Or do you think differently? Let me know what you think of this record in the comments below. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll keep you guys posted for more videos in the near future.